Hi, I'm Rich Daly, and this is Fast Finance, your quick hit of the news and numbers that matter the most in healthcare finance. Up first, weird numbers. These are some random healthcare numbers that recently caught our eye. Today's weird number is $172 billion. That's the amount of projected federal 10-year savings from a site-neutral payment requirement on hospital billing in Medicaid that was included in a coming Republican reconciliation package. Now for today's main story. Hospitals and health systems are expected to undertake more mergers and acquisitions in 2026, although the type and size may change.
Yeah, I think that'll continue to increase. We still got a fair amount of headroom to get back to pre-pandemic levels.
That was Anu Singh, a managing director at Kaufman Hall. This year's expected increase would come off a historically dry year for hospital deals. Last year, there were 46 transactions, only half as many as the 96 that happened in 2019, and the fewest in the last 15 years of Kaufman Hall's tracking. Singh expected recent transaction type trends to continue this year. 5 of those trends include: Number 1, more acquisitions of financially distressed or underperforming organizations. Number 2, systems leaving markets in which they are not dominant. Number 3, more mega merger deals. Number 4, for-profits selling, not buying. And number 5, hospitals and health systems increasingly seeking deals for non-hospital targets like urgent care centers, ambulatory surgery centers, and telehealth or virtual platforms. The trend of for-profits switching from acquirers to primarily sellers in M&A deals is driven by a post-pandemic spike in expenses and inflation. Meanwhile, payments have continued to lag.
So you're actually in a negative margin trajectory. Scale strategies won't always work. You have to rethink a business strategy around market presence. And we're hearing a lot more about us being essential in marketplaces.
That has led for-profit organizations to reassess their portfolio of offerings and markets and to think purposely about shrinking their size to improve performance. The newer approach is to focus on markets in which they can be successful. Meanwhile, the shift to outpatient care has been underway for years, but Singh sees health systems accelerating that push in 2026.
Health systems right now are looking at their future plans, and many are saying that the level of investment required to hold on to this chassis and this throughput in the inpatient setting is increasingly going to become a challenge.
Singh expects strategies and approaches to prepare for cuts under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or OBA, to vary on a state-by-state basis. The reason for that is the timeline of federal cuts is relatively clear, but there's wide uncertainty about how states will react to OBA with their own cuts or new funding for providers. Additionally, there's uncertainty how states will implement some of OBA's provisions.
I think a very large challenge to this process is that we're talking about a bill that has 3-4 year federal impacts, and the state impacts are a lot less clear in terms of what it might look like. That kind of uncertainty is going to create situations where I think health systems will look at strategic initiatives and potential partnerships with those implications in mind.
So watch for aggressive and changing deal-making this year as health systems aim to account for both looming payment cuts and secular trends. Now, before we go, just one more thing. Hospitals and health systems rated by Fitch Ratings are using 2026 to boost revenue and cut expenses ahead of the federal Medicaid cuts that start next year. Overall, those organizations' operating margins and operating cash flow margins improved in 2025 and were expected to further bolster both of those key performance metrics in 2026, according to Fitch analysts. The record 2025 balance sheets and expected further gains in 2026 are driven in part by those organizations' efforts to prepare for coming Medicaid cuts under OBA, and that was according to Mark Pescaris, a senior director at Fitch. The 2025 law included about $1 trillion in 10-year cuts. However, those won't begin to bite until 2027. 3/4 of OBA cuts won't come until the last 5 years of its 10-year implementation. Overall, Fitch has a neutral outlook on the not-for-profit hospital sector and forecasts 1% to 2% median operating margins. Well, that's all we've got for today. Don't forget, you can get the Fast Finance newsletter delivered right to your inbox every Wednesday. Sign-up info is in the show notes below, or you can go to hfma.org. And once again, I'm Rich Daly. Thanks for listening.